Hello world, welcome back to this delightfully taboo channel. My name's Sarah, and today I'm going to be telling you about the astrology transits that are coming up for the week ahead. And for this week, there are a couple of transits that I'm going to mention, although I'm not going to mention all of the transits that are occurring, but just the ones that are going to give us the backbone of what's happening this week. So two planets are ingressing new signs, and then we will have a new moon in the sign of Scorpio, and it's looking pretty explosive, if you can imagine. So the first planet that will ingress a new sign, meaning it will leave one sign and move into another, is going to be Venus. Venus moves into her home sign of Libra on November 8th. And Venus is this planet of love, also relationships that we have with women, be they sisters, partners, or perhaps even our mother. So something in this realm of life, there will be harmony. It's feeling actually nice amidst all the chaos. For Venus to be moving into her home sign, she's equipped with all of the tools that she needs to encourage diplomacy within the sign of Libra. So that looks nice. I do have the gene key that Venus will be entering, which is gene key 46, that has the shadow frequency of seriousness. The gift is delight, and the siddhi, or the highest frequency, is ecstasy. And this gene key is a victim of over seriousness, whether that's frigid or frivolous. And another thing to note about this gate when we're looking at human design is that it's located in the G center, which has to do with our identity and the direction that we're going based on our love. And that is the synopsis for Venus. So that's going to be happening on the 8th when Venus ingresses the sign of Libra. And so again, this is nice. This is actually a very good way to start the week, and we'll need it because the very next day, on actually 2 days later, on November 10th, Mercury, the planet that we associate with communication, it's also to do with things like transportation, anything that's a subject-object relationship, getting one place to another. That planet, Mercury, is going to be ingressing his fall. This is opposite his home sign of Gemini, and moving into the sign of Sagittarius. So for Mercury in Sagittarius, Mercury is this planet that's about details, generally speaking, and again, subject-object relationship. It's how I relate with other, and sometimes that's through communication, sometimes that's through getting things organized and really understanding, taking stock of inventory and knowing what I have. Where Sagittarius is about expanding what's possible, and it's big, and this giant red planet, you can think of this big gaseous giant also expanding things beyond what we can measure, and therefore it's to do with things like philosophy and foreign travel, any way that we can get out in this world, higher education, expanding ourselves into the world. So Mercury falling into this sign is really interested in details that Sagittarius isn't providing. And Mercury will be moving into gene key 34. And what the kind of meditation here is to not push things, not to push for answers, and not force things to continue as you expect them to. Mercury is in the details, so it's wanting to move forward with a plan. So again, gene key 34, that has a shadow frequency of force. The gift frequency is strength, and the siddhi is majesty. So sometimes it takes a lot more strength to wait things out, or to not occupy your mind with frivolous things, than it does to push forward. It might be really easy to do. For instance, I'm thinking of falling back into an addiction. And sometimes you can even give yourself excuses for it. Sometimes you can even say, I'm forcing myself to do things, and therefore I go behind the scenes and I do things in secret so that nobody knows about those things. And that's really the only thing that's pushing me forward. And so again, really thinking about addiction with this gene key, we might be holding on to things that aren't good for us. And that's exactly what the addiction is. So forcing can cause us to fall back into those things that we like to do to pacify ourselves. So keeping that in mind, Mercury will be moving directly into a square with the planet Saturn. And Saturn is this planet of discipline. And Saturn is currently located in gene key 55. So that gene key has a shadow frequency of victimization, and the gift and the siddhi are the same. This is freedom for this gene key, which is an interesting thing for Saturn to be moving through, this desire for freedom and not being a victim. Often people feel victimized by Saturn because Saturn says, I will not give you that right now, even if you ask for it. And it may just be because we're not putting in as much effort. So you can see if I'm feeling punished or victimized by Saturn squaring Mercury, then I might fall into those self-defeating but also gratifying addictions or whatever they might be. So there's a message here about you being your own worst enemy. And this Saturn is moving through this gene key, which has it's a victim of drama. So complaining and blaming are ways that we can go about expressing the shadow of this gene key. That is what's happening with those two planets. So Mercury ingressing his fall opposite his home sign of Gemini and moving into Sagittarius. Venus moving from her detriment of Virgo, this place you feel super uncomfortable because it's so critical and it's judging all the time, and moving into the sign of Libra, which is her home sign. It's all about harmony and beauty and justice and balance. So that's nice for the Venusian aspect. The Mercurial one's a little bit, it's tense. It's putting that tension on. So by the 10th, we're already starting to feel confronted by the things that we've been maybe trying to eliminate, maybe the things that we've been trying to get rid of from our life. But there's that idea that you can't really, it's harder to quit something without aligning yourself towards something else. It's much easier to fall back into those patterns when we don't move that energy into a different field or into a higher frequency. So that is going to lead us into the new moon that's going to take place on the 13th. So Mercury will be leaving Scorpio, where the new moon will take place. Mercury's leaving Scorpio, moving into his fall in the sign of Sagittarius. And as soon as Mercury leaves, a few days later, on the 13th of November, we're going to have a volatile new moon. There's no way that this doesn't end up being explosive. This looks like earthquakes, because what we have, Uranus in Taurus is just kind of, anytime it gets activated, going to bring up that keyword of earthquake, because Taurus is an earth sign. Uranus is this planet of shocking revelations. So it's earth shattering, it's earthquakes. And what's happening is Uranus is opposing this new moon nearly by degree. And also Mars, the planet of war. So a new moon in Scorpio ruled by Mars in his home sign of Scorpio. So Mars is co-present with the sun and the moon. That's what a new moon means. Mars there as well. So this is kind of a new Mars. Anytime a planet conjoins the sun, it's resetting that cycle. So it sets Mars on maybe like a 2-year cycle or something like that. So Mars is becoming new, the moon is becoming new, and this is all opposing Uranus, that planet of chaos, of revolution, rebellion, and shocking revelations. Okay, now the gene keys for these two placements. So we'll start with Uranus, since there's a huge pile up with the new moon. So Uranus is opposing this new moon. Uranus is in gene key 23. and that has the shadow frequency of complexity, the gift frequency of simplicity, and the siddhi is quintessence. And this gate is in the throat center for human design. So this is all about expression and communication, materializing things, manifesting through speaking them into existence. And the struggle here is wanting recognition, wanting to be heard, wanting to be seen. That's gene key 23 for where Uranus is. And so that is the place within which the shocking revelation comes through. That's the insight coming in. And the key to this gene key, the gift, is simplicity. So keeping that in mind, that I don't know if it's a quote or if it's just kind of something that people say, which is, if you can explain it to a fifth grader then, or a 5-year-old or something like that, just being able to condense the message down to where even a child could understand it, because that shows that you have true understanding of what it is that you're trying to express. And this is opposing the pileup of the new moon, so the moon, the sun, and Mars. So we'll start with Mars. This is the planet of action, our desires, war, passion. And the moon is associated with our emotions, our inner world, routines, because the moon is cyclical and those cycles, so those kinds of routines. And also the medium within which we find ourselves. So it's often associated with the plot of, with the setting of the story, where the sun would be the plot. So the sun, our will, our relationship with our father, even that authority, that ideal to which we strive, and that is the plot of the story. So all of those planets are moving through gene key 43. This gene key 43 has a shadow frequency of deafness. The gift is insight, and the siddhi is epiphany. So this is also referred to as breakthrough, and it's a victim of needing to be right. And again, opposing Uranus is bringing this element of explosion. So it's a good day to, if you can, stay home. Maybe watch a good film that has those themes in it, so that it's still arising in your life in some sort of way, or watching, like a really good MMA fight or something like that, some way that it can manifest and not be so disruptive. But there's some things that we can't help. So yeah, it's rough. And I think that's where I have to leave it, is look for the simple resolution if it's possible. And if it's not possible, then brace yourself. So with that being said, I hope that it brings energy for projects or for ideas. And I hope that you're able to work with the energy in a constructive way, while also being mindful of this being destructive in nature. And I'll see you in the next video.